Analysts expect sustained dampened activity in the equities market this week, with minimal positive triggers to stimulate buy interests. Meanwhile, investors are weighing earnings releases as banks race to submit their implementation plan following the CBN's recapitalization move. Mukhtar Mohammed, an analyst at Assar Investments, joins me now for more market updates. Mukhtar, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. We have to get your reaction. It's less than 24 hours to the deadline from the Central Bank of Nigeria, talking about the submission of the implementation plan, looking at this recapitalization exercise. But quite interestingly, there are some feelers, some analysts believe we might see an extension here on the back of some news. Take, for example, First Bank. We've not heard anything new talking about their capital raise plans and much more. Do you think we'll have an extension here?
Well, David, first and foremost, I don't know why the CBN was rushing for them to give an implementation for a 2 years program. And I don't know why. That means there's more to meet the eye than we see if you look at that. But again, for me, I think there will be an extension because some of the banks have not had their AGM also to get shareholders approval on how they want to raise capital, whether they are going to do right placement or they are going to do public placement
offers, yeah,
or public offers, other means of getting investors to invest in it. So a bank like Zenith Bank, even despite that they are trying to get an holding structure, they will be going getting a court injunction. Then they will still have to meet again with SEC and others. They've not finalized that also. UBA is not having its AGM till sometime May 24th. The same thing with GTCO also. They are not having their AGM until May 8th, and also. So when you look at all those things, by and by, what even Zenith Bank are having their AGM May, I think GTCO is having their own May 8th, Zenith Bank is having its own May 9th. And UBA close of register for investors is May 10th, AGM May 24th. So when you look at all this, then you definitely know that there should be an extension because you need shareholders' approval, even with the plan on how you want to raise this capital. And knowing that some of these banks also result were delayed by CBN, also the regulators, in not sending these numbers to the market. For First Bank, you know the crisis that is there, court injunction, the AGM will not hold because some shareholders are in court. Then the CEO of the bank also resigned his appointment. So there's a lot of issues there. So also they will be looking for an extension. And I don't think it will be out of place for them to have an extension, knowing fully whether this exercise is a 2 years exercise.
Yes. I'm talking about some of the movement we've also seen in the market now. We've seen the banking index drop about 25.7% since the recapitalization exercise. How do you see things going for the banking index going forward?
Well, I think there's no cause for alarm. If not that the CBN say you cannot use your retained earnings. Most of all these banks they have liquidity of over 1 trillion of shareholders' funds. Most investors, why you see those numbers coming down, most investors are looking at dilution of their shares because they are going to have more investors come in. So maybe the profit margin must go higher for them to be able to pay dividend. But investors have forgotten that most of these banks, when you look at their earning per share and by the type of dividend they pay and their retained earning, I still see them being able to pay dividends, even if not astronomical like we would expect. But again, they will be able to still pay the same dividend for a long time to come. So there's no cause for alarm. I think most investors are apprehensive. Perception, like I said in your first question, the AGM hasn't come out. We've not seen the plan of how these banks are going to raise their capital. But again, investors are seeing also leeway to begin to invest in some of the equity that has gone really down, like a bank like Access. Today we saw that numbers a little bit coming up. So investors are beginning to show interest in some of these banks. And again, most investors also are reinvesting their dividend into those banks that will pay more dividend because again, like I said, Nigerian investors are always excited when it comes to dividend payout. So I don't think there's any cause for alarm. Rather, it has created opportunity for shrewd investors and investors that are thinking to invest for the long term. There's no better time than now.
Yeah. And talking about how we've also seen earnings release also impact the market as well. Now, one of the latest reports we are having released today is that of Seplat Energy as well, recording quite a dip in their revenue, 45.6%, during a year-on-year analysis of the quarterly performance. We've also seen Nigeria Breweries' cost of sales going up about 84.9% as well. Now, what's your reading of some of these numbers we're seeing here?
For Seplat, I think it's very surprising. We were excited when the government said that subsidy has gone, and one of those big players we should be Seplat. And again, I think Seplat also put all their energy into acquisition of asset from Mubi. That deal has not gone through yet, even if there is assurance that that deal will go through. So I think. When you look at that numbers, you are surprised. There's more that meets the eye. Maybe it has to do with security challenge. They will not be able to export the number, knowing that recently OPEC even said Nigeria did not meet its OPEC quota. So that also will affect Seplat. So I think that might be what is happening in Seplat because those dips in numbers are really shocking and surprising, knowing that that's a sector that has been fully deregulated, and also oil price has been at an upbeat for some time now. So surprising. For Nigerian brewery, I think I've also said it that when you look at the numbers of Nigerian brewery, and then you look at what has brought them to the challenges they are, it's a big time opportunity for investors. Like you said, their intents of sale went up to about 84%. Their also operational this one went about 1,000%. So you could still see that a lot of things are happening in the brewery sector. Those numbers are still very good. They are still making profit, but the challenge has to do with the macroeconomic headwind. That has to do with high interest, high inflationary pressure, high interest rate, and also the major one that affected Nigerian brewery is the exchange rate volatility
Yes.
during the floating of the naira. That really have a negative impact on their number. And again, going forward, we might see those numbers. They're already coming down. We're seeing that there's interesting time for the naira, expect those numbers to go down a little. As those numbers keep going down, then you begin to look at improvement in terms of what we'll see from Nigerian brewery going forward. For Nigerian brewery, I don't think it's anything. And also, they are also begin to look at their operational base and looking at more those that are profitable and those that are not profitable. And they have closed, shut down two of their plants that they think is not that profitable. So those are decisions that they have taken that will have effect in their bottom line in the long term. But in the short term, we might continue to see these numbers like this. But again, that is an opportunity for investors that are looking
Yes.
for long-term capital appreciation
Yes.
and dividend payout
Yes.
from Nigerian Brewery.
The clock is already ticking away as the month of April is winding to a close. But some of the forecasts we are expecting for this week as we close the month is also foreseeing minimal positive triggers to stimulate buy interest this week. Your take on profit-taking activities, especially for stocks with elevated prices. What do you see happening in the next hours, in the next 24 hours as we wrap up the month?
I think there will be profit taking is still there. You will see those profit taking. And like I said, you see a lot of investors also having liquidity in terms of dividend payout. They might be entering some other good stocks that price has gone down, especially the banking stock. The numbers, we're going to see some numbers coming first quarter result from the banking financial sector, especially. And once those numbers come, they normally determine the direction of the market. We've seen positive numbers from IBTC Holding. We've seen positive number from Dangote Cement also. We expect that also to trickle down to other conglomerates in those sectors. So it depends on where they need a trigger, and macroeconomic headwind also will need to come in and play a role here. Let's see what the inflationary pressure will come up to be. We're going to maintain rate when the CBN meets in their monetary policy. Will they maintain rate? And then again, will we have stability in the exchange rate for a long time for in this month? If those things happen, then you can but see that the market will respond positively. But if it goes the other way, it could be a difficult time for investors.
We keep our fingers crossed. Mukhtar, thank you so much for your time on the show today. That was Mukhtar Mohammed, an analyst at Assar Investments.